Yeah, I think I'm really good to get a move on sooner than later.
Hey! Hey!
I don't know how well I'm gonna sleep if she keeps hissing at me.
That's about 8 feet.
That sucks. Can you hear screaming?
The beauty of the wild often hides its most terrifying secrets. Imagine setting up your camping gear only to be charged by a massive brown bear, or hearing a distorted, unnatural roar shaking the trees all around you. When the isolation of your camping trip suddenly feels like a trap, will you freeze or find a way out? On the Creepy Travels channel, most of the creators' videos show simple overnight trips in remote parts of the Cumberland Plateau. But during one trip, things quickly took a more unsettling turn. On December 8th, 2025, the plan had originally been to sleep inside his car. However, after noticing that his hammock was still in the back, he decided to walk down toward a nearby creek and set it up there instead of spending the night along the road. As soon as he stepped onto the trail, a scream echoed from deeper in the woods.
Now, we ain't having this. We are not having this. We are camping.
The sound immediately stopped him. Only minutes earlier, a car had been leaving the area as he arrived, something uncommon for such an isolated place. He brushed it off and continued walking, though he mentioned more than once that it felt strange to run into anyone out here. While looking for 2 trees strong enough for the hammock, he passed old chair frames, abandoned backpacks, and scattered remains of what had once been a private campground. The site had been deserted for years, and pieces of the old campground were still visible across the ground. After finding suitable trees, he hung the hammock and settled in. But just when things started to feel normal, the uneasy atmosphere returned.
Let's try this, people. Yes, that car come back. It's where you park at, walk down way out that way, but I just saw some at that rock bluff right there. He had a black shirt, and I know that when they was pulling out, the guy had a black shirt on. This guy looked like he had a black shirt on. Might come back for his screaming wife.
Before going to sleep, he walked through the old campground layout, pointing out collapsed tents, rusted sinks, and the remains of a small bridge. He also described where the shower area once stood, and where campers used to set their tents before the place was eventually abandoned. Years earlier, one camper reportedly woke up to something touching his foot through an unzipped tent. After that, people slowly stopped using the site. By the time he went to bed, everything seemed quiet again, and he expected only a light sleep while listening for normal forest sounds. But around 3 a.m., he suddenly woke up. He heard movement in the water and the snap of branches nearby. It felt as though someone or something was moving around him in the darkness. The noises weren't constant, but they happened often enough to keep him listening. Each rustle and every cracking branch made him tense, wondering what might be out there. Soon the sound seemed to shift closer, echoing around the empty campground. With work waiting the next day, he started packing his gear in the dark, still thinking about the earlier scream, the footsteps near the creek, and the man in the black shirt he believed he had seen twice. Deer usually didn't give him that kind of feeling, but something about the noise left him uneasy. He left before sunrise, ending the night without any final incident, only the lingering sense that the place never truly settled. Sometimes sounds in the woods have simple explanations, but when events line up like this, the situation can feel different. If you heard those sounds outside your camp in the middle of the night, would you stay or quietly leave? On January 25, 2026, one of the most chilling wildlife clips ever recorded was uploaded to YouTube. In the footage, a man stands in the woods near his home, cutting firewood while his dog stays beside him. At first, the scene appears completely ordinary. The forest is quiet, and nothing seems out of place. But within seconds, everything changes. Out of nowhere, a massive brown bear suddenly rushes straight toward him. The animal charges not once, but twice. With nothing but an axe in his hands, the man swings it forward, desperately trying to drive the animal away. It is pure survival instinct, with no time to think. Somehow, the attempt works. The bear backs off and disappears into the trees, leaving the man shaken but unharmed. Still, the moment remains unsettling, because an encounter like this could easily have ended very differently. When a bear that large decides to charge, people rarely get another chance. Encounters like this show how quickly a calm moment in the wilderness can turn dangerous. Sometimes instinct and timing make all the difference. If the bear had continued charging, would there have been any real way to stop it? Matthew Stone and his father were hiking deep in Glacier National Park when they paused at a secluded campsite to rest. The setting was quiet, almost idyllic, until the forest shifted. From the shadows of the trees, two massive grizzly bears emerged. In an instant, the peaceful stop became a moment of high tension. Running was out of the question. Any sudden retreat could have triggered the bear's chase instinct, turning the encounter into a deadly pursuit.
We're just playing. So yeah, I think I'm pretty good to get a move on sooner than later. Yep. Hey, bears.
Instead, father and son chose stillness, controlling their breathing and movements. The grizzlies approached with slow, deliberate steps. They didn't immediately display aggression, but their size alone was enough to raise the stakes.
Hey, we're good. We're good here. We're good. Hey there.
They sniffed the air, heads swaying slightly, watching the hikers with sharp, intelligent eyes. The atmosphere felt heavy, as though each second was being measured. Keeping their voices low and steady, Matthew and his father spoke to the animals, not to engage them, but to make their presence understood in a calm, non-threatening way.
You're just curious. Just slowly, don't go towards them. Hey, bears.
The bears listened, ears twitching, their focus unwavering. With care, the hikers began to back away, never turning their backs, never rushing. Every movement was intentional. The bears followed their retreat with cautious interest, then, without warning, broke attention and wandered back into the wilderness. The entire encounter lasted only minutes, but for Matthew and his father it felt far longer. They had avoided panic, read the animals' behavior correctly, and survived what could have easily turned fatal. Grizzly bears are among the most dangerous predators in North America, capable of sprinting at 35 miles per hour and delivering devastating blows with their claws. The Stones' response, staying calm, maintaining eye contact without challenge, and backing away slowly, aligns with established bear safety practices. While their measured approach likely prevented escalation, the bear's initial curiosity could have shifted to aggression in an instant. Encounters like this highlight the razor-thin line between coexistence and conflict in the wild, When you're in a predator's territory and it decides to approach, are you truly negotiating for safety or simply relying on the animal's mercy? Gary Reed's Unfrequented World is a YouTube channel that at first glance looks like a collection of simple outdoor vlogs and nature content. Gary often goes on photography hikes and metal detecting trips, and he regularly spends time exploring his large property in the wilderness of northern Ontario. He is frequently accompanied by his family, but the usually calm atmosphere of his unfrequented world has been interrupted by something disturbing: a screaming, unidentified presence somewhere deep in the woods. Gary was born in the small town of Redbridge, Ontario, and has spent most of his life surrounded by forest. Along with decades of first-hand experience exploring the local landscape, he also holds a degree in environmental science and has a strong understanding of the biological systems around him. Because of that background, when he says something in those woods cannot be explained, the statement tends to carry weight. He describes the sound as a long, drawn-out wail that slowly builds into a rising roar. At times, the noise seemed to move across the entire campsite, shifting from one side to another before suddenly going silent. On April 30th, 2020, he heard the sound again.
That sucks. Can you hear screaming?
The scream sounded almost human, but not quite, with distorted and unnatural tones.
This thing is still going on over here.
With a camera in hand, Gary carefully moved toward the direction where the sound seemed to come from. While examining the area, he noticed a strange break in one tree and several others that had been pushed over in the same direction, as if something had forced its way through the forest. Nearby was a tightly twisted cluster of branches, bent in a way that suggested tremendous strength.
There's one there.
As he continued farther into the woods, more signs of damage appeared, as though something large and heavy had passed through the area. Even more unsettling were the large tracks he discovered. He believed the prints may have been left by something walking upright. The marks did not resemble normal boot prints.
Almost see the toes.
13¼ inches.
After measuring them, he found they were significantly larger than an average human footprint. Still, there could be a rational explanation. Rainfall from the previous day may have altered the snow, making an ordinary track appear much larger than it really was. Gary placed trail cameras throughout the forest. Footage captured on March 3rd later became some of the most discussed evidence. On March 7th, he and a neighbor heard another piercing scream, this time sounding similar to the cry of a child. Gary stepped outside into the pitch-black forest and stood alone in the darkness.
Turn the dish back on, I can hear whistling.
In one clip, a pair of glowing eyes can be seen behind him, though it may simply be light reflecting from his glasses into the camera lens. When they returned to the same location the following day, his dog became visibly uneasy and refused to move any farther ahead. Along the trail, signs of destruction were easy to spot. Bent and broken trees lined the path. Some trunks looked as if they had been grabbed and pulled downward with force. In another case, a branch appeared to have been twisted off and placed back into position.
That's about 8 feet. And it's got a good twist to it.
Even though the tree itself looked healthy. Elsewhere, a healthy green tree had been split cleanly in half.
You can see the bark, and you can actually see lines. Well, those are tooth marks.
While lightning could theoretically explain that kind of damage, similar destruction appeared too frequently to ignore. Whatever could break trees and produce those kinds of screams would represent a serious risk to anyone wandering through those woods. These events have all taken place within just the past few months. When events repeat like this, the mystery remains. If a scream like that echoed through the woods near your camp at night, would you stay or quietly leave the area? Hidden Camping with Zeb Chandler is a channel centered on stealth camping, quiet survival trips, and low-profile overnight missions in remote locations. In a video uploaded on October 18, 2025, Zeb set out on a solo adventure to a small island located deep within a large lake. To reach the island, he borrowed a friend's kayak and launched from a public boat ramp. He packed lightly for the journey and decided to sleep in a hammock instead of on the ground, since he was worried the island might have snakes or other wildlife moving through the brush at night. After arriving, he quickly concealed the kayak in nearby bushes and began setting up camp as quietly as possible while light rain started falling. By the time darkness settled in, the atmosphere had completely changed. The rain slowed to a drizzle, and the natural sounds of the wilderness became louder and easier to notice. At times, the noises resembled the calls of geese and other water birds, but occasionally certain sounds seemed oddly human, almost as if words were forming in the distance.
They make a lot of geese and goose noises, but occasionally they'll make like a human sounding noise. Sounds like they say a word or something. We're still waiting a little longer under our shelter here. We're gonna wait till later to cook our dinner and then set up our hammock late night. I feel like a fugitive right now. It was okay, but now that it's getting dark, it's getting serious.
Using night vision, he could see reflections from animal eyes scattered through the grass and along the shoreline. There was far more wildlife around the island than he had expected. The constant movement created the uneasy feeling that he was being watched from every direction. Later that night, while lying in his hammock trying to sleep, he suddenly heard something that immediately caught his attention.
So there's a lot of crazy going on out here.
By the time I finished dinner, it was about 10 p.m. So only with the night vision goggles could I see all of these animals and sets of eyes all around me that were making these creepy noises. Right now you get an idea of how close they are, especially right now, right there. There's two or three that just, it's hard to describe. They're hissing. It's eerie. I don't know how well I'm going to sleep if she keeps hissing at me. And the truth is, these guys are very territorial, very aggressive, and dangerous, especially during their breeding and nesting season, which I was clearly interrupting by being an unwanted guest on their island.
A heavy branch snapped somewhere close to the camp. The sound was much louder than the normal forest noises he had been hearing all evening, and whatever caused it seemed large enough to be moving right beside his gear. He remained still and listened carefully, unsure whether the disturbance came from an animal or something else. The uncertainty kept him awake for most of the night. Just when the tension began to ease, something else caught his attention. That moment was enough to make him leave the island almost immediately.
Oh my God, what is that in the water? It's a set of eyes. I am not kidding. There's something over there at the water's edge. Something right there staring at me in the water or at the edge of the water as I leave.
Instead of investigating further, he chose to paddle away, realizing that even a quiet and beautiful location can suddenly feel deeply unsettling. If something large moved near your camp in the dark, would you stay to find out what it was? On May 7th, 2017, an unexpectedly frightening piece of footage appeared on YouTube. In the video, the uploader is riding through the Alberta foothills, a beautiful forested region during what seems like a calm horseback ride. At first, everything appears to be going smoothly, but suddenly, they encounter something unexpected.
It is too. That's the guy that's always down in the bog. Try and see if he's got equipment under there. Anybody?
Or maybe he was roped.
He seems.
He's kind of beat up.
Yeah, he is beat up.
I think he's got junk.
Is he? Oh, Patrick.
Maybe not.
He's got no mark on his nose, does he? But it's the same horse.
It's just maybe the way the hair lays.
Yeah.
Bug you sick,
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, little man.
Hmm?
Careful, that guy will put a gun on you.
Yeah.
Sorry. He's pretty.
Hey, where you going, buddy? Good boy. Good boy. Hey, good boy. What are you doing, buddy?
A wild male horse suddenly runs toward them, closing the distance to roughly 30 feet from the group. At first, the moment seems harmless. The horse appears curious, simply watching the group and their movements. However, when the riders begin trying to move away, the situation begins to change.
Well, mark another pile.
That's his territory.
Yeah.
Start chasing. Don't you dare start.
Hey, where you go? Yeah. Hey. Okay.
There's no girls there.
Yeah.
Last thing we need is a fight.
Come on. Where you go? Hey.
Come, Lido.
Okay.
Go.
This encounter with the dogs is about to get way too close. If you folks are riding up there, just watch your dogs if you run into this fella.
Go. Go.
Hey! Hey! Hey!
Lido.
Without warning, the horse begins thrashing aggressively before charging directly toward the two dogs. What happens next becomes even more unsettling. The horse continues following them along the trail for more than 2 miles, refusing to back away. Eventually, it finally leaves them alone. But the situation came dangerously close to becoming a serious disaster, because when dealing with an animal that large and that unpredictable, events can escalate very quickly. Wild animals often behave in ways that are difficult to predict, especially when they feel their space has been entered. If a horse that size began following you down a remote trail, would you know when it was still curiosity, or when it had become a real threat? This footage recounts the ordeal of 2 indigenous hunters, Frank and Donald, during a trip into the mountains of Alberta, Canada, an outing neither realized would end with only one survivor. At the start of their hunt, the two split up, choosing separate spots along the river valley to watch the game trails from elevated stands. As daylight faded, Frank began noticing strange noises echoing from the forest and started filming what he was hearing. The recording picked up loud impacts and heavy brakes, as if something was striking wood nearby. When Frank climbed down from his stand, the sounds intensified.
Sounds like something's hacking away at a tree. I'm getting down.
Following the noise, he noticed what looked like a downed tree farther ahead. Growing uneasy, he decided to leave on his ATV and meet up with Donald before nightfall. But when he reached Donald's stand, he realized something was very wrong.
Dawn? Dawn?
Donald was gone, and the same disturbing noises had followed Frank to this new spot, now mixed with an even more alarming tone.
Shit, man. Just heard something again.
Although he briefly wondered if it was a joke, the continuous sounds drove him back toward his ATV, hoping to run into Donald along the way. Instead, things worsened when his ATV suddenly wouldn't start.
Hey! Is that you?
With no working vehicle, Frank had no option but to continue on foot through the dark forest as the mysterious noises kept closing in behind him.
Out of here.
While moving quickly through the terrain, he stumbled upon a chilling scene. Suggesting that something else had been out there with them. Not long after, Frank found additional traces hinting at a deliberate presence.
What the hell is this?
A makeshift shelter constructed from snapped branches and woven twigs. He didn't stay to inspect it as the earlier noises began approaching again. For several minutes he ran blindly through the darkness, unable to increase the distance between himself and whatever was pursuing him. With no clear way to escape, Frank prepared to confront it, an action that nearly cost him his life. He attempted to defend himself, missed, and was quickly overpowered. Pinned by the unidentified attacker, he could only pretend to be lifeless. The camera then showed Frank's body being dragged across the snowy ridge for what felt like an eternity. Hours later, he regained awareness inside what appeared to be the creature's den. The structure resembled the wooden formations he had seen earlier near the valley, surrounded by smaller versions of the same design. Disturbingly, these were decorated with bones and decaying remains. Nearby, he came across a small display containing what looked like the body of a young creature. Understanding the danger, he fled the area and eventually made it back toward the river valley where they had begun their hunt. There, he found what was left of Donald. The two had entered the mountains together, but only one came down alive. Donald was never seen again. What exactly confronted Frank and Donald that night? A violent individual hiding deep in the wilderness? A known predator roaming the Alberta mountains? And how Frank managed to escape at all remains uncertain. This story doesn't appear to be finished. The YouTube channel Sidestep Adventures into History travels into the forests of Georgia and unexpectedly discovers exactly what the creator had been searching for: an old grave hidden among the trees.
Some of the flowers sometimes. This has the bottom part of the writing on it.
Oh, yep, there it is.
This is Jane F.
Yep, there it is. Sacred to the memory of Mrs. Jane.
He carefully clears the surface and respectfully reads the woman's name from the stone. Beneath the heavy grave marker, he notices a crushed bouquet of flowers left by someone who once cared deeply for her. The petals remain in surprisingly good condition and still hold much of their original color. Finding flowers that appear relatively fresh at a grave that dates back more than a century is unusual on its own. But while studying the inscription more closely, he realizes who this Mrs. Jane is to him.
Her father Samuel story. I forgot how many children he had by his first wife, Winnie. And Winnie died, and he remarried Stacy Duckworth. And Stacy Duckworth and Samuel were my great-great-great-grandparents.
Wow.
So she was actually a half-sister to my great-great-grandfather.
The woman buried there turns out to be a distant relative. The entire moment feels strangely like fate. Discovering history hidden in the forest can already feel mysterious, but realizing it belongs to someone in your own family makes the moment even harder to ignore. If you found something like this deep in the woods, would it feel like coincidence? Or something meant to be discovered? On the Dead Appalachia channel, most uploads focus on rural exploration. But footage recorded on January 24th, 2026, documented a visit to an abandoned coal mine outpost. The location was once operated by Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in Morgan County, Tennessee, and the area included several collapsed mine entrances, along with remnants of prison labor infrastructure. The creator hiked up the mountain during daylight hours to examine the site. He explained that the terrain was difficult to navigate, covered with loose sandstone slate, thick undergrowth, and plenty of thorns. Some of the old mine openings were partially collapsed, filled with stagnant water, and likely contained pockets of dangerous air. Across the area were horizontal mine entrances, remains of old structures, and even a guard tower that once watched over prisoners forced to mine coal there. Because the tunnels were unstable, he chose not to go inside, kept the entire visit above ground and during daylight hours.
Hello? You hear that?
For the investigation, he used an EMF reader along with a spirit box to see if anything unusual might respond. During the session, He recorded a few random EMF spikes and some sounds from the spirit box that resembled words or names. However, the signals could simply have been interference from the surrounding environment.
Speak to me. Are you here today? Stuck here at this outpost in this mine? Are you here with me today? Do you have a name or names? Kyle or whoever you may be, whoever died here in this horrible place, communicate with me. Say something.
Nothing physically unusual occurred during the investigation. He then decided to move to a different area of the site, hoping the change in location might produce different results.
Were you killed here? Working these mines by the guards or by poor conditions? And by the way, it's not this that's interacting with that. See, the spirit box is not setting off the EMF reader. It low-key sounded like it said warden. Are you mad at the warden for how you were treated here at this prison? About the guards in the tower who kept an eye on you?
After several attempts, he eventually began packing his equipment and prepared to leave. In the end, he walked away from the abandoned outpost with more questions than answers. Sometimes places with a heavy history can create strange experiences, even when nothing clear actually happens. If you explored a location like this alone, would the quiet make you curious or uneasy enough to leave? When traveling deep into the wilderness, it is almost inevitable to encounter something unusual. A video published on October 6, 2019 on the YouTube channel Mir Bez Granits shows a cameraman walking through the forest near the outskirts of Perm and unexpectedly discovering something unsettling. While moving through the trees, he comes across a strange structure made from sheets of plastic held down with wooden planks. When he lifts one of the plastic coverings, it reveals what appears to be a makeshift underground shelter. Continuing deeper into the forest, he soon finds another structure. This one is also built from plastic and tarps, but it is positioned above ground and stretched between two trees. A pair of jeans hangs from one branch, a plastic bag from another, and scattered trash lies across the ground. Looking inside, he notices someone sleeping within the shelter. The cameraman quietly steps away. Before leaving the area, however, he discovers yet another structure. When he looks inside this one, it becomes clear that someone is living there as well, although no one happens to be present at the moment. One side of the shelter is camouflaged with branches, and clothes hang from a line nearby to dry. It appears that a small group of people has created a hidden settlement somewhere in the forest. There is no way to know how they might react to a stranger suddenly wandering into their territory. What makes the situation even more unsettling is the location. The camp lies deep in the woods, dozens of miles away from the nearest town. Sometimes the wilderness hides people as easily as it hides animals, and stumbling across their shelters can feel even more unsettling than encountering wildlife. In a video uploaded by YouTuber Ray RLC on May 26, 2025, what was supposed to be a calm overnight wildlife recording session turned into something far more unsettling. Ray, known for exploring remote outdoor locations and capturing eerie moments, had chosen a quiet forest trail to monitor animal movement. The area showed fresh animal tracks and little human interference, a perfect spot for observation. Once there, he set up a trail camera facing the path and an audio recorder to capture ambient sounds throughout the night.
Found a deer trail. Look where it goes. So I, parked down that way, walked up here. It keeps going on up there. And I want to look up that way of the trail. So, think the perfect spot would be right here. This good old spot. And just look straight up there, and if any deer come walking by, I'll catch them. So I need to get the trail cam and set it up. And we got her. So here's the trail cam. Got it set up. It's facing over there perfectly. But I've got a nice little treat for you guys. There's the sound recorder. Okay. So I'm going to have the trail cam going. I'm also going to have the sound recorder going. I'm going to listen to the audio first, and then the trail cam, just to see what we hear and then what we see. Because that's kind of the fun. You hear something and then see it later. But this is not going to be motion detected. Because sometimes, especially if it's small, I've got another issue too. I don't know. It's because the thing is, I have the trail cam directly on the trail. Trail cams do best at like an angle. Not like this or like this. At an angle like this. But I have this going straight up. If something's coming right at me, sometimes the trail cam just doesn't want to go move for it. It should, but sometimes it doesn't. So in order to not risk that, instead I'm just going to do a time lapse. I think time lapses are more fun anyways. If something changes but doesn't catch a motion sensor, it'll do that too. And that's why I prefer that. So we're going to get this going. I'll get that going, and I'll come pick these up tomorrow morning.
After finalizing his setup, Ray made his way out of the woods before sunset, encountering only one person along the trail. A brief, uneventful moment that still left him slightly uneasy. The next morning, he returned to find everything intact.
Oh, I think we're in luck. Nope, didn't get stolen. It's still here. Okay. There's my stuff, still here, waiting for me. In the outer quarter, it looks like it turned off. That's okay, it just means the batteries died probably not long ago. So, well, we'll see how much audio we get. It's made so that as soon as the battery dies, or right before the battery dies, it stops the recording and then dies, so you don't get corrupted or lose it. So we'll be okay. We'll see what kind of audio we got, see what kind of video we got. I'm really excited about that. Let's turn these off and take them down.
The audio recorder had shut off, likely from drained batteries, but nothing seemed disturbed. Feeling relieved, he packed up and brought the gear home to review the footage. Most of what he saw was expected. Deer, raccoons, and various small animals captured moving through the night. But one clip left him stunned. The camera had captured a shirtless man crawling across the forest floor in the dead of night. The man held a large axe, had no flashlight, and moved in silence, not stumbling or wandering, but creeping forward with deliberate control. It was a sight straight out of a horror film. The man's behavior raised chilling questions. What was he doing out there at 4 a.m. armed and alone in such a remote location? The fact that he had no visible light source yet moved confidently, suggested he either knew the area well or had a disturbing purpose. Some viewers speculated that the man might have been mentally unstable. Others suspected something darker, perhaps a ritual or a predatory act under the cover of darkness. A few even suggested he was deliberately avoiding detection. The most unsettling part. If Ray had chosen to camp overnight or returned just a bit later, their paths might have crossed. What was that man truly doing in the woods? And who or what was he looking for? That's all for tonight's video. Which encounter gave you chills? Let us know in the comments below. Got your own experience? We want to hear it. And whatever you do, don't miss what's coming next.